taste. Busting makes me feel good.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Blockbusting, the podcast where we love to hate the movies. I'm your host, Jay Light. Joining me today, two repeat guests for the first time comboed together.
Yeah.
We have the full VR Your Friends crew here with Sean O'Connor and Tyler Mesnerich.
Beat it.
Hey,
Tyler and I are the worst DVD combo pack you can get at Super Target.
Wait, which star is in your DVDs, though? Is it like an Adam Sandler combo pack?
There's an Adam Sandler comedy and then an intense drama.
Which one of you is which?
I'm the intense drama, and he's the slapstick.
I would have guessed.
Is this like a discount combo pack like you get at Walmart?
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah, so like
Target,
a Love's gas station. I do feel like, because today, Sean, you have a very intense, you have an intense focus today, and Tyler is trying to stave off the inevitable with goofs.
Yeah, he's got a direction he's going towards. I don't. So.
Yeah, and it's a movie that I think we saw this all together.
Yeah.
And I mentioned we were hanging out with the proprietor of the Elon in LA recording space, and I mentioned that I actually liked the movie that we were going to talk about, and Sean seemed shocked, and I don't know what Tyler thought, but
I mean, you sat right next to me in the movie theater. You know how I feel about the movie.
I know what you think, but what do you think about the fact that I didn't hate it the way you guys did?
I would want to know why. What is it that you actually like about it? Because that movie hurt me in a way. Because I love Ghostbusters. I will say this openly. Ghostbusters was like my generic password to like all the dumb shit I ever had to sign up for in my life.
Oh, really?
Ghostbusters with a 0, and I'd replace the E with a 3, and I'd sometimes do an exclamation point, capital G. So I love Ghostbusters so much. So that movie sucked, Jay. I can't understand it.
I mean, we're talking about Ghostbusters Afterlife. That's Tyler's thoughts. Sean, what's your baseline thoughts on this movie?
We all went into it. I mean, that's what I thought the plan was, is that we all were kind of expecting to hate it. I'm a sucker for seeing a terrible movie, and I had heard that it's just a nostalgic marketing, just a greedy profiteering project. Mm-hmm. So I really want to hear your opinion, since you actually ended up liking it, because I don't know how anyone could like this movie.
Absolutely.
Here's what I think. I went in there with low expectations. I did not know, after watching the infamous Lady Ghostbusters, what to expect from the future of this franchise.
Which you both saw in full, right?
Yeah.
The lady version.
We watched that during the pandemic in a little movie group.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we watched
I literally don't remember anything from it.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't tell you a plot point from it.
It's definitely worse than this Ghostbusters.
Okay,
I
we
think
can all agree on that.
We can all agree on
100%.
that. But I do think that this Ghostbusters was I look at it the same way I looked at Solo when Solo came out, where I don't think it's horrible. I don't think it's great, but I think it's just like straight down the middle. Like, it is what it is. Like, it's clearly a family movie that I don't know why they rated it PG-13. I definitely have some problems with some of the dialogue, some of the expository stuff. But at the end of the day, I had a fun time.
Let's start with the trailers before the movie. I leaned over to you and said, "These all seem like they're kids' movies. Is this a kids' movie?" And
Yeah.
Jay very confidently said, "This is a kids' movie, and the original was a kids' movie." I was like, "Well, the '80s were a very different time. They didn't know how to rate stuff."
That's true, yeah.
Why was this kids' movie with Trolls trailers and Sing 2 trailers before it rated PG-13? Why were they showing those trailers for what was supposed to be like?
Quick point, though. The original was not a kid's movie.
No, the original was not a kid's movie. It
No.
was just rated PG because that was, as to Sean's point, that was before they understood how to rate things properly.
Okay, fair enough. But like Ray gets blown by a ghost in the movie. Like,
There's a lot of cursing.
yeah.
demon dogs chasing people in the streets.
There's some real terror moments in that movie, for sure.
I think if the word God appears in your movie, it shouldn't be labeled PG either. I think that should merit, if a kick in the head in The Matrix warrants an R rating, mentioning God should warrant you a PG-13.
Is that why The Matrix is R-rated? Because
Supposedly.
somebody got kicked in the head?
And tobacco, because that was when that was becoming a thing. Like,
Oh, yeah.
for our tobacco. I don't know. Maybe I might be bullshitting on that one. Is that the case where if there's tobacco, it has to be rated R now?
I think that might be the case. I know that pretty much every TV show where somebody is smoking a cigarette, then it is immediately rated TVMA for mature audiences only.
Progress. It being a family film, that brings up the question, who is this movie for? You liked it.
Yes.
Who do you think they were aiming this at?
I think they were aiming it at like the audience in the theater. Because, the thing that surprised me.
I mean, literally, they're aiming it at the audience in the theater.
But I literally mean like when we went to see it, we were, with the exception of a couple other people, I think we were the only ones there who did not have children with us.
Other than the guy in his 40s right behind us who laughed at every joke.
Every joke, every reference.
Because he remembers the Ghostbusters.
And that guy is also who it's for, because it's just somebody who's like, nostalgia. I love nostalgia. I love it when Bill Murray shows up, but it's old now.
He looks great. Oh, aging is sad. I am sad. Yeah, so, like that's not inspiring, seeing all of your heroes from 40 years ago showing back up.
No, and I totally agree with you guys on that point.
We'll get into that.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, P.S. You definitely need to preface this with spoilers.
Oh yeah, this is, if you haven't seen Ghostbusters Afterlife, people listening, you're going to get everything spoiled for you on this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
So don't watch this. Don't listen to this if you haven't seen it.
Wow, I can't wait to hear. So you like this. I want you to defend all these points that we're going to talk about then. That's a great place for you to be.
Yes, let's cover that.
Luck.
You said it was kind of
Good luck.
Good luck.
Well, here's the thing. I will say this is going to be my opening salvo before we really dig into it, guys. I think that Ghostbusters, I will say I haven't seen Ghostbusters 2. That's the only movie out of the franchise I haven't seen.
Great movie. I love that movie. A lot of people don't like it, but I fucking love it.
Sean, you're kind of iffy on Ghostbusters 2?
It's obviously not as good, and it's just a repeat of the first movie, just with a different villain. But it's more of the same. They didn't change. They didn't go too far from the plan, and they just brought the same characters back. And they were
River of Slime. This Eastern European museum director that has the funniest accent I've ever heard in my life. Vigo.
He was a runaway. He was one of the best parts. But then at the end, they just had the Statue of Liberty run around New York instead of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. I mean, it was beat for beat.
Okay.
It was just a little too much. So you've heard about some of this, right?
I've heard of the Vigo the Carpathian stuff just because Tyler yells about Vigo the Carpathian all the time.
At the end of the movie, they use a Super Nintendo console to power up with slime the Statue of Liberty.
Oh, no.
And pilot a stone statue around the city. And all of a sudden, the bottom of the Lady Liberty's gown is moving and waving, even though it's all made of stone. It doesn't make any sense.
But it's so funny when they realize it. Like, they're all in jail, and they're like, we need something. Because the whole
Why
point.
are they in jail?
Well, like, I think they get it. It's like this. It's the same movie. It is. So like, the mayor's upset with them, so they go to jail again. And they're all upset. And they're literally like, New Yorkers, because they realize the slime runs on positivity and they live in New York.
And of course.
And everyone's a shitty person in New York. So like, how do we get all New Yorkers to be positive so we can beat this evil thing? Because that's the only way we can beat it, if we can all make New York positive. So then they were like, we need a symbol, something that, that we all believe in. And then they go get the Statue of Liberty. It's pretty funny. I think that's a good bit.
Okay. So I haven't seen Ghostbusters 2, and I only say that to preface this.
Sure. Yeah.
I think Ghostbusters as a film is good, right? I don't think it's great. I'm not as huge of a fan as you are, certainly, Tyler.
Yeah.
And I think, Sean, you seem like you're a big fan of Ghostbusters, but definitely not on like the Tyler rabid fandom level. And I think where I come from, I think the reason why I liked this movie is because I don't love Ghostbusters the way that you guys do. And I think that some of the other members of the Ghostbusters fan base, which came out in droves to demolish Lady Ghostbusters, in addition to that movie just not being a good
Deservedly
movie.
so.
Deservedly so. But this movie, I think it's trying to do something different than the original Ghostbusters. And so I think holding it up to like, we're going to try and, in my mind, holding up to the same standard of that Ghostbusters, it's not trying to be that. And I think what it does effectively. It doesn't do it great. Like, I think if the closest analog to this is like E.T. Like,
I've also heard Stand By Me. It's like Ghostbusters plus Stand By Me.
right,
which
yeah,
I
it's
agree
like a
with.
Ghostbusters version of like an 80s Steven Spielberg movie as opposed to an 80s comedy.
You want to do like a brief synopsis, just so people who, if they don't have any idea, they know like what this is
Exactly.
compared to a regular.
Great timing. So the way this basically works out is it's set 32 years after the original Ghostbusters. We start out with Egon, who is an old man whose face is not shown, but we know it's Egon. We can basically figure out that it's Egon through context clues.
Dead
And-
Harold Ramis,
Yeah.
aka.
Yes. Who, by the way, shows up later on as hologram Harold Ramis, and that is the worst part of the entire movie.
We'll get to
Absolutely.
that.
We'll get to that. But Harold Ramis tries to capture a big old ghost with some stuff that he set around at his country house in the middle of nowhere. Doesn't work out. He gets killed. And so his daughter and her children have to go move to his house to sort through his affairs. And that's basically the premise of the movie. And there's also ghosts because they have to figure out, hey, there's more ghosts afoot in this town. So they have to figure out what to do.
Well, great. Let's start with them moving there. This has a lot of problems. That as soon as a line happens, you'd be like, okay, that was them skating over. Wait, why did they show up to this new place without all their stuff? So the mom drives the kids and they show up to this big house that belonged to their dead grandfather. And she's like, surprised, we're not just staying here for the summer. We live here now. Mm-hmm. She waited until they pulled up to their new home to tell their kids, I guess so they wouldn't protest, but they don't have any of their stuff with them. Like, so packing has to be done. Or what? She just like left everything behind, and they don't have any of their belongings.
I mean, to be fair, she does not seem like a great mom.
Yes.
No, they
I'll
said
get
Carrie
that.
Coon is a real shitty mom in this movie.
And she's kind of a drunk too.
Yeah.
She makes a joke about like, there's only one bar in this town. There better not be only one bar in this town.
Yeah.
Probably
Yeah.
one of the better jokes in the movie.
Solid joke.
this kids movie with a drunk mom who is
true.
literally asleep on the table at one point when it cuts back to the house.
And is making jokes about day drinking with Paul Rudd. Oh no, we wouldn't even make jokes about that. That's just something that you mentioned sitting next to me in the movie.
Yes, at one point, Paul Rudd, who plays the substitute teacher in the town, he goes on a date with the mom character, and it's the middle of the day, and they're drinking little Buddha cocktails.
Yeah.
It seems like a school day. It doesn't seem like a weekend day. So I don't know how school works in this town. It's a small town. They probably don't focus on school as
And
much.
it's the summertime too, so summer school is also potentially on different hours than
Yeah.
everybody else.
You're right. It is summer, and these kids are in summer school. Egon Spangler's granddaughter, who is the star of the movie, she's a little nerd in the same realm as Harold Ramis' character, Phoebe.
Yeah. Phoebe
She's
Spangler.
she's supposed to be this little genius, and yet both her and her brother Finn Wolfhard are in.
Trevor.
Yes, you remember all the
I
character
looked them
names.
all up because
Okay,
I
good.
was like, I didn't remember him at all.
I was going to
look
call
all
them
up.
Finn Wolfhard, and then I was going to call his girlfriend the girlfriend because I don't remember their names.
Celeste
Anyway,
O'Connor.
oh, I really should know her
AKA
name.
Lucky Domingo,
Lucky.
who I don't think her full name was ever said. During
Lucky
the entire
Domingo?
movie.
Who's
Yeah.
Lucky Domingo
Lucky Domingo is the name of
His
Finn
love
Wolfhard's
interest.
love interest.
in the movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lucky Domingo.
Lucky Domingo.
He does say it like a few times.
Okay.
But just a few times.
Well, the little girl Phoebe, who's this super genius, she is going to summer school for some reason. I guess just to give them. It seems in the script they needed a way to meet Paul Rudd.
Yes.
There was no other reason for that to happen.
I think, yeah, that's basically how it seems. We needed to have Egon's granddaughter meet Paul Rudd, and we also needed to have Carrie Coon, Egon's daughter, meet Paul Rudd.
Because, spoiler alert, literally this mirrors the first movie again, where they have to have a man and a woman to turn into two hell dogs and be Gozer's guards on the big temple of hell.
Yeah.
But that's where this all ends, P.S., if you haven't
Yes.
seen it. It's the exact same movie, just with Paul Rudd and Carrie Coon turning into dogs. We'll get
And
to that.
Bonin.
But meanwhile, Paul Rudd is not actually just a summer science teacher for. There's so many kids. This is a very small town. The
Yeah.
classroom's full. It's like 30 kids.
It's full of kids.
And he's just going to play Kojo, which I thought was funny. He's going to play a demon dog thing movie for all these kids while he
Oh,
goes
look at that! That's a nice little. That's
Yeah.
a nice little piece
Yeah.
of winking to the forward.
I thought
what's gonna
I thought that
happen.
was clever. And then he goes into the back room and he's going to work on his seismology stuff while the kids are distracted because he doesn't have any time to teach these kids.
Right.
But it feel like why is he doing that at all? I just don't understand. Does he just need the money? I feel like they need to like develop that.
Mm-hmm.
There's some point where he's just like, well, I came here for this reason and I had to take a job doing something and nobody cares about their kids. So I'm going to be a shitty teacher.
Paul Rudd felt the most like a decision akin to every decision in Lady Ghostbusters, which is, we'll just put these funny people in it and that's enough and it'll be good, right? They just plopped Paul Rudd in to be like, and he is the funniest part of the movie.
Absolutely.
Like that movie would be significantly worse if he wasn't in it.
He has no scenes with the original Ghostbusters at all, like where they actually talk or do anything.
Oh yeah, he doesn't even get to be like, love you guys, or do anything like
He does
that.
nothing with them because he's in the demon dog
Right.
Yeah.
when they're
he's
all
definitely-
fighting.
And he's the only one besides Egon's daughter, Carrie Coon, who knows about the Ghostbusters as entities because the kids have not been told about this.
Yes.
Great thing to talk about. I could
Yes.
talk about this and nothing else, really.
Yes.
This is a very common problem with any Save the World movie that then has to have sequels or reboots. There seems to be, everyone gets a little bit of amnesia when it comes to who saved the world and how they should be celebrated for the rest of time. If this was not a long time ago, the Ghostbusters Saved New York, it was at this point 40 years ago.
Yeah,
Not only would
30 something.
there would be a holiday every year to celebrate. The day that they wiped out Gozer, that day would be celebrated. There would be memorabilia still around. There's just no way that not only, okay, I get that they're protecting the kids from knowing about their grandfather. That's one level of disbelief you have to put me through. The second is they don't believe that it happened.
Yes. And also Stay Puft Marshmallows still exist. Like
It's a brand after
it's
it
a
murdered people.
it literally stomped a city. Like you remember where we were when 9/11 happened? Do you remember where we were when a giant marshmallow like destroyed half of New York City?
Okay,
Yeah.
but neither of these kids were born when that happened.
Doesn't matter.
So that's
Doesn't
like
not
this is
matter.
their version of Gen Z. Like Gen Z kids don't know what happened when 9/11 happened. Gen Z kids, as Sean elaborated on in a video, Gen Z kids don't think 9/11's that bad because it was just a plane crash.
Wait though. Literally in the movie, Trevor / Finn Wolfhard, he literally calls it the Manhattan Ghost Stories.
Yes.
He's like, I don't know if I believe in the Manhattan Ghost Stories. So they know about it. They know about
Right.
it.
There are still so many people alive who were there.
Yeah,
So
because
it's
they're
not
in the
that
movie.
so it's not that they don't believe in it. It's that they have been deliberately not told about how closely involved they are by the mob.
For sure, but there's definitely one point where they're like, so the stories are true. They say that line because I went, what?
These
the
people,
stories are true.
there's so many times, you count the times in the movie that a character is perplexed. It's like, what? What is happening? Whoa.
The children,
I don't know.
the child characters,
Wow.
who all are
All of them.
But that's the thing.
Paul Rudd does. They all do it.
I don't remember Paul Rudd doing it.
Paul Rudd does
that.
it when he goes to the caves. When he goes to caves, he's like, whoa, what is this? What's happening?
But we don't know what any of that is at that point either. Really.
Sure.
Those are the reactions we get instead of them ever being genuinely scared of ghosts.
That's
Or
true. That's a good point.
Finn Wolfhard and his delinquent friends go out to the mine shaft and they release the mine shaft cover and a wolf ghost flies out and they all go, oh, sick,
dude.
let's go home.
That is a part we should definitely talk about, the fact that none of the people in this movie seem to be reacting to ghosts in the way that you would react to a ghost.
And that happened in the female Ghostbusters too. That was a very
Yeah.
common complaint. They're all just like, oh, jokes, boy.
Yeah, they literally take like Paul Rudd. Also, Paul Rudd, I don't think that's fair because Paul Rudd seems to know everything about the Ghostbusters. He's like, whoa, this is this crazy trapper thing. You got this crazy. He knows what it's called. He knows everything about it. He sees it.
He knows that it's called a ghost trap.
He knows how to open it. He
Yeah.
knows how to start it up. They release the ghost from that like bus, whatever, and it literally just explodes out. This insane, gigantic ghost. And then what happens after that? They go home and Paul Rudd tries to fuck the mom. That's what happens after that. They don't even bring that up. They don't even talk
because
about it.
Why would they talk about it? Paul Rudd
Because
fucked
the
something
movie's
up.
about ghosts.
But still-
the movie's not about Paul Rudd fucking the mom. It's about Ghostbusting.
But it kind of
Down
is
boy.
about Paul Rudd fucking the mom eventually. Eventually. Because they become the keymaster and the gatekeeper.
That's my main. So that's my main issue. You watch Ghostbusters and you're like, what is this movie about? It's about busting ghosts. Period. What is this movie about? This movie is about 3 separate love stories happening while Ghost exists.
There is a very good ghost, but I did enjoy when we'll talk about Muncher, but when they use the side saddle or whatever it's called, the side card of the
gunner seat.
the
Oh,
gunner
that was
seat
cool.
of
Yeah.
Ecto 1, and they're chasing through town. Even though there would have been mass casualties, which they don't address, they're shooting their.
They do kind of address it. They say you destroyed downtown.
They don't address it.
They do.
They don't.
They keep the child in jail and they're like, you destroyed downtown.
You live in a small town where literally nothing happens, which is a huge point where the Finn Wolfhard character's talking to Lucky and they're like, why are you still here? I'm a 4th generation no town person, whatever. And then a car shows up chasing a ghost and just blasts half of the city and there's nobody at the police station. Where are all these people? Your business got blown up. Why aren't you like, hey, mayor, fix this? Where's the mayor?
This is a very common problem in this movie. Extras are nowhere to be seen.
There is no mayor. Why is there no mayor in this movie?
There is a sheriff. We'll talk about the sheriff.
The Bokeem Woodbine showing up as the sheriff.
Sheriff shows up once and then just
Great
never
actor.
again.
Yeah, that was a shame.
It is a shame.
This
I
is
love Bokeem
yeah.
Woodbine.
There was maybe 2 extras in Walmart with Paul Rudd, but I guess there's like,
That's-
it's 1 a.m.
That's one of the most egregious parts of the whole movie is that there's nobody else. I've never been to a Walmart where there's any less than like 30 people in there.
Yes, especially late night. That's when you get the real weirdos.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, breakdown of a scene. Let's do a breakdown of a scene. Let's talk about the jail scene. Post this like ghost. So
Them trying to capture Muncher.
So let Muncher out, which is what's just to clarify. Muncher also is a ghost that eats metal, like munches.
Muncher
He's a
is
metal
Slimer.
muncher.
He's a metal chewing version of Slimer. That's
Yes.
the only difference.
Instead of
he's
sliming,
blue.
he munches.
And he has 4 arms, and he's like looks like a little caterpillar, like
Yeah.
Alice in Wonderland caterpillar.
Yeah,
body.
I definitely got Alice in Wonderland
Yeah.
caterpillar vibes.
So they're out chasing that, and they catch him. Did they catch him? I think they catch him.
tried
They
to-
catch him eventually, but it takes a while.
They catch him. I rewatched the scene. There's this big sign that says "Bridge closed 5 miles ahead," and then they cross the bridge like it's no big. It's not closed. Just a dumb thing. They catch it with the RC car. They go to jail, and then the girl Lucky is in the next cell.
Oh yeah, she's
listening.
just chilling in there, and they're
then-
like, "What are you doing here?"
She has this. You want to talk about it?
Oh.
Yeah.
It's several things because how they're filming it, we don't know that she's in the next cell, but they would all immediately know she's in the next cell. So what ends up happening is we think, oh, she's arrested for something too, but then she makes a joke, haha, no, my dad's the sheriff, and she comes out of the cell. This is us registering that, oh, she's cool and an interesting love interest for Finn Wolfhard. But it doesn't make any sense. When did she, this is my big question that I asked you as soon as the movie was over. So she did this as a joke, right? When did she sneak into her jail cell to make the ruse come through? Because she would have had to be there before Finn Wolfhard and Phoebe even got into the jail, right?
Good point.
She snuck in after they got there? Were they sleeping? Anyway, I know I'm not focusing on the right things in this movie, but when you're doing something so preposterous.
I think you're focusing on a thing that makes a lot of sense to focus on.
Yeah.
Because that was her big moment to win over the audience. I'm like, nope, it was bullshit. It's not real.
So that's act 1 of this jail scene not making any sense. The sheriff never comes back. That's another part of it for sure.
That's a shame.
She gets to make a call. And then what does the sheriff say? You know what he says?
Who are you gonna call?
Yeah, of course. And that 40-year-old guy behind us. Anyways,
I like that line too, though. You can't say you didn't like that line.
it wasn't the most egregious thing that
I'm
happened.
fine with it. But at the time, I was pretty upset about everything that was happening in front of me. So you can't save me with the
This is actually
callback.
for those of you. We haven't mentioned this yet, but
Yeah.
and I my favorite part of the movie was Tyler. The first time Muncher shows up,
Yeah.
Tyler had his face in his hands, and he just goes, "Oh God, it's Muncher." So upset.
I was so upset.
You knew Muncher was going to be in it. Muncher was so heavily featured.
It was literally a bite out of a piece of like a scaffolding or something.
He becomes a vital plot point later, which I
Yes.
also hated.
Voiced by Josh Gad,
Yeah.
for some
just,
reason.
I don't know
Great
why.
work.
Yeah.
What voice it was. He doesn't talk.
Just a lot of.
They just captured him like on the toilet a few times and at a buffet a few times. Like, that's him.
Hey, that's Muncher.
Eats metal and then shoots it at them like bullets, shrapnel bullets at them.
And they survive every single time.
Totally fine.
If there was a brutal no music scene of like Finn Wolfhard just clipped by shrapnel in the neck and he's like bleeding out, and Paul Rudd's like being a goofster, and then there's like a ghost scene with one of the kids. Okay. Like kid turns into a ghost. I'm in.
Paul Rudd, please let me get a blessing to fuck your mom.
Wake up.
Can I do that?
Back to this jail scene.
Back to
she
jail.
calls. Who she call? She calls Ray from Ray's like mystic.
Ray's, he's got
Emporium.
like an occult emporium.
Ray's a cult who basically just dumps like fully like 4 minutes of exposition just on this little girl.
Yes.
Catching us up with everything the Ghostbusters have been doing since the end of, I guess, Ghostbusters 2.
And why they are all scattered to the winds.
Yeah. Well, it's just and how Egon is an asshole. He literally, that's like probably the only curse word that's in the whole movie. I think he calls him an asshole.
No, they say shit a few times.
They say shit?
Carrie
Okay.
Coon says holy shit, I think. And she
Okay.
calls somebody else an asshole.
Fair enough. But he's still talking to a child on the phone that's calling him.
This little kid.
Her
It's like,
grandpa.
Egon's asshole. God.
Because they just, I guess part of that was just they had to set up why there was a rift because everything came back to Harold Ramis being away. And
Yeah.
that's the
Yes.
And I will say something I like about them. I like that she got the phone number from the commercial and called it.
Yeah.
I like that. I think that was a good idea.
But
But, well, I have a lot of buts.
there's a lot of buts, and I know there's going to be a lot of
You know
buts.
what? You know what? I want to make this point really quick. You see clips from the old movie, right? We know the old movie,
Right.
and eventually it's like
And they're
it's
playing
like-
them
it's
as
like,
the commercials or their stuff on YouTube.
It's
where
like
they're showing
news
like,
clips
yeah.
and commercial
Right.
clips.
Yeah.
You can see the view count, and it's so pitifully low. It's like 85,000 views.
That's a good point.
4 guys showing up and literally blasting a 60-foot tall marshmallow.
And saving the world.
You know what I wish they had done
So
was
pathetic.
I wish, and I know they would have not even tried to do this, but if they had like an Alex Jones clip on YouTube that they got him to talk about.
Dude, I would love
Nobody's
that.
talking about any of the Ghostbusters.
about these Ghostbusters,
We gotta talk about these Ghostbusters.
We got 4 guys here, okay? We got 4 guys. Okay, what are they doing out there with the ghosts? Okay.
The footage they have in that YouTube clip is just of the Ghostbusters going into the building. Maybe, do you think at least one person would have captured a clip of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man going through
Yeah.
town,
Yeah.
or Gozer and the dogs, or like when Rick Moranis was running across the street, someone would have pulled out their phone then to get a demon dog running through a
I mean, there's
restaurant.
no phones. Nobody can get.
Well, there was a phone. There was a camera somewhere.
Yeah, well, clearly they're recording it, but it's the movie footage.
We're seeing
Sure.
movie footage.
and they're
It's supposed to be
making it
someone's-
kind of look like it's a news footage or something.
But that's the thing. I feel like so. Yeah, they play that, and that's fine, and that is a good way to get that. To bring those worlds together and let the kids see finally, like, oh, it is
is
a thing. This is a real deal.
This is a great. You talk about the kid. Just maybe want to wrap around so we can close the pin of why you like this. This is kids instead of adults ghost busting,
Right.
getting into shenanigans. Do you want to watch more movies in the Ghost Core universe?
The
that
Ghost
they've
Core
built?
universe? I don't know. That's the thing. It's like I will say this as somebody who did not hate this movie, I also am not super intrigued to like go watch more of these movies because I enjoyed it for what it is, but it's also like now that I've seen it, I know future movies, they're really going to have to move the needle for me in order to go see them because now I know that this is the direction they're taking the franchise. And I got no problem with them taking it in that direction, but it does mean that unless I have like a nephew who I'm going to go take to see Ghost Core and watch the adventures of Podcast and Phoebe, I'm not going to go see Ghostbusters Afterlife.
After
Afterlife.
yeah.
Ghostbusters.
Oh, we didn't talk
Purgatory.
about. We haven't talked about podcasts
We haven't
at all.
talked about Podcast at all. The best character in the movie after Paul Rudd.
I
Second
think-
best character.
I think he is one of the best characters in the movie for sure. Even though terrible name, his name is Podcast.
I thought he was going to be the worst character of the
oh
movie.
yeah.
I think the actor brought a lot to it. It could have been a
Yes.
very terrible character because he had some funny lines, but
Yeah.
that is just that felt his character named Podcast, who has a podcast, felt like a draft from 10 years ago.
Yeah.
when podcasting was a bit more new. it in 2021 for it to be like, this kid's kitschy because he has a podcast and his name is Podcast.
He's got microphone equipment
Yeah.
everywhere with him.
I guess now we're just supposed to be as like, oh, this kid's really pathetic because everyone has a podcast.
And
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, all these characters are just servicing the plot. Like all of them just have like this little factoid somewhere in their brain
Did you hear about this?
where they get to unleash it on the main characters.
Did you hear? Did you hear? Did
And
you hear?
I will say, Trevor Finn Wolfhard literally almost said he could just cut him from the movie almost. Like he's
Yeah.
almost completely irrelevant.
His biggest thing he did is he fixed cars so that he could fix Echo One and then be the driver.
Right.
That seemed to be like his role.
Yeah, that's basically it.
I want to talk briefly because on the subject of just how things are revealed in this movie, this family doesn't act like normal people. When they move into this new house, the first thing you would do is investigate every little part of it. There's a shed. There's days that go by before Finn Wolfhard opens up the shed and discovers like the Ecto-1. I'm like, just have these people behave like normal people and make the same discoveries. You don't have to do this weird shit because you have to have another story beat before Ecto-1. Like,
I think they do kind of behave like normal people, though, because I think Finn is so despondent and mad at the fact that he has been tricked into living in this house for an indefinite period of time. He's not going to go explore it. He's going to go brood on the bed and jerk off thinking about Lucky Domingo.
oh, I just mean even the mom didn't go to the shed.
Well, the mom also the mom doesn't want to be here either. The mom, all of these people hate that they're in this situation, which I think is a reasonable, I'm not going to go explore a place that I have no desire to be at immediately.
That's fair.
I'm going to have to warm up on it.
Yeah, but that's supposedly what they're trying. They're trying to be Stand By Me, Steven Spielberg type thing. And what do you do? What do the kids do in literally every one of those movies? Oh, what's that weird thing? What's that noise? What's that thing? I'm gonna go look. I'm going under the house.
And they do eventually do that. They do eventually go do that.
Yeah, but this is one of my issues with this movie, and it's like such a small one, but they are totally unreal. I agree with Sean. It's like they're sitting there and they get to this house, and what's the main interesting thing about this whole town? There's giant earthquakes all the time, and everyone's kind of just numb to it. They're in this house. The first thing that happens is the whole house shakes, and they have to go to the table because they think they're going to die. And then
That's true.
they just explore on their own time. If the mom just says literally just create just this much drama, just be like, don't go into the shed because look at it. It's a disaster.
It's
It could
dilapidated.
fall over any second.
The roof has caved in.
Yes, that's it. Just one line. It just fixes so many things. And then it's like, oh, every time they go into the shed, it's like they're trying not to get caught from their mom.
This is fair.
Just
this
an
is a
easy
fair,
way to
This
fix.
is a fair point.
Add some drama.
I cannot disagree with that point.
I think he's trying to put some stakes in it because this movie really didn't have any
None.
stakes.
Yeah, there's no stakes.
No stakes.
By the way, all those kids that were watching this movie while we were in the theater, talking the entire time.
we had a man brought 5 of his all boy children.
I don't think they were all this. I was talking to somebody about this after that. I don't think they were all his kids. I think it was a divorced dad play
it was-
date situation.
Yes, I think it was like, I want to spend time with my son.
A 3-family switcheroo.
What do you want to do, son? Take all my friends to Ghostbusters.
All right.
I think that's
I
what it
guess I'm going to let you talk the entire movie so that way you don't tell
Yes.
mom that you don't want to see me again.
Yes.
That's what I think happened. But yeah, he did. He brought 5 children with him.
There's a couple families that had very young children who were rightfully bored during that movie, except when fun things were on screen.
Absolutely. Until like their actual special effects were happening. They were talking so loud that I wasn't even that upset by it.
No one tried to shush them.
None.
Everyone moved away from them, which was hilarious,
Yes.
seeing the slow trickling away
Yeah.
from them. But no one was going to shush them because I think we all felt we
You
were on
can't
the same plane.
shush children.
You can talk to the what I would
talk to
do
the dad.
in a movie I cared about is I would talk to the dad. I am not afraid to do it. I don't. Every people are like, oh, but then your heartbeat. I'm like, I thrive in that energy. I thrive in telling someone to act like a normal human being, and then everyone's like, oh, I'm like, we're just gonna deal with it. We all pay the same amount of money to be there.
Take me back to 1984. I'm in a movie theater. I'm watching Ghostbusters Original, and those same 5 kids are there. They're dead.
Yeah.
They're dead.
I mean, I've seen movies, and I guess this also is to you guys' point of like how little I think people might have been willing to like say something about this movie in the movie. Oh, I saw Wreck-It Ralph years ago. I don't know if I've told you guys about this.
Yeah.
I saw Wreck-It Ralph years ago, and there was a couple and their young child in the front row, literally the front row of the theater at the Grove. And they took a selfie with the flash on in the middle of the movie, and everybody started screaming at them. Because this is in the middle of Wreck-It Ralph, which is a great movie. And everyone literally is like, "What are you doing?" And they wouldn't. I mean, it's a Disney movie, so you can't yell, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" But that's the tone that everybody took immediately.
Just everyone joins. You bond with people during that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We're all in this together. Like we all spent 15 to 20 or $30 on this experience. It's like, don't fuck it up for everybody.
Yeah.
Those kids fucked up for everybody and nobody cared.
And the divorced dad spent like $75 to fuck it up for everybody.
I'm sure he was having a swell time.
Oh yeah, he was just sitting there not paying attention. Why do these kids have phones? By the way, all the kids are on their phones.
Oh, because kidnappers. You got to be able to call them when they're kidnapped.
I will say,
That's a good point.
by the way, great
Give him
point.
a cricket phone.
Great point. All those kids, how old are those kids?
They must have been
5 to 12.
I would say probably like 8 or 9.
Okay.
I would say like 3rd, 4th grade age.
They
That's
all
how
had
they seemed to me.
phones. They all had phones.
They were all different heights, so we're definitely talking 8 as a median age.
No, how many kids in this movie we just watched, the Ghostbusters, had phones?
Podcast didn't even have a phone.
None of them had
Podcast,
phones.
yeah. Podcast is. I was like, Podcast had to have had a phone, but he didn't. He just had all this fancy audio equipment.
You know who had phones? The teenagers working at the burger place when they're like hanging out and making fun of Finn Wolfhard for failing at flirting.
Yeah, okay.
They're in their car. At least one of them, I feel like. Was on
But
their
teens
phone.
it makes sense have phones.
Yeah.
The kids,
Oh, your point you're making is that little kids don't have phones.
and they should.
And they-
in this if it's now, if it's
Nobody's on their
2021.
phones. Literally no one's on their phones the entire movie, basically.
You'd think the scene between Phoebe and Podcast would be like, oh, you haven't heard about that or you didn't see that? And they just immediately pulls up like that
Yeah.
YouTube video. It's like, check this out. It's like, whoa. Oh, maybe that's my grandfather.
You don't have Instagram for kids downloaded yet? Come on,
baby.
Phoebe.
Well, should we get into like the whole ending and
Yeah,
stuff?
I think this is the perfect time to get into the ending. So we basically, as we've talked about, this ending is mapped to what happens in the other Ghostbusters movies, where the ghosts it's Gozer's demon dogs again, the Keymaster and the Gatekeeper. They possess. They summon Gozer. J.K. Simmons shows up for a literal minute-long cameo total. The entirety of him in this movie is just a minute long.
I forgot. What does he say? I already forgot. What does he say?
He pops out because he's the dead guy. He's the guy who made the town.
He's
right.
Evo Shandor.
Evo Shandor, yeah.
Because you got to reference everything that was said in the first movie.
Exactly. So he's the guy who's been building he was mining selenium to get the selenium girders so that he could have the places where he could summon
Homer.
Gozer.
Movie for
Remember.
kids, again.
Gozer the Gozerian.
Yes.
Movie for kids. Right?
And Gozer, it's a family movie, not just for kids. It's a movie for the whole family. And Gozer is summoned. Gozer murders Evo Shandor. Just murks him immediately.
Rips him apart.
Yes.
Like,
Flays his mind,
Graphically.
destroys him, and then the kids have to bust Gozer, and then also they follow Egon's old plan. They take him back. The old Ghostbusters show up again. They have a moment. Which, by the way, this is also a scene that a lot of people in the movie clapped and cheered for. And I will say, the three of us were all like, "Okay."
We were the only ones in the theater not clapping. And I'm like, I don't feel like a jaded piece of shit not clapping at this.
It felt like manipulation.
It did feel like manipulation, and I think this is the moment in the movie where, it was interesting sitting between you guys at this movie because you both had similar complaints.
I kind of wished I'd been sitting next to Tyler because I knew he was probably like visibly showing his anger
same.
more.
Tyler was just sinking further and further down into his chair the whole movie.
I heard
It
him a
was
couple
great.
times go like, "Oh my god!"
It was great. It was great sitting between you guys because there are points that I agree with on, like, especially in this sequence. The stuff that you guys were both saying during the movie and after the movie about how obviously cash grabby that whole sequence felt, and bringing back old Ghostbusters, bringing back Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd and
Winston.
If they ever
Ernie
like,
Hudson.
if they ever release like a wider cut, I'm sure you could see Jason Reitman just holding a gun on Bill Murray on right off screen. I'm sure you will.
I love how they didn't even give them a real hero shot. They were just kind of in the background.
Yeah.
It was kind of like a long shot of just all of them, and they're standing by the car. It really wasn't that glorified.
A slight thing that just murdered me inside. They played like the original like music, like diddy, like the little like we're joking around, and it's like there's Gozar right there, and Bill Murray's like doing jokes, and I'm like, this isn't how this works.
Right.
The pacing was just off.
But that's part of
stakes.
the stake. Yeah, the stakes of this movie not being really a thing because we know everything's going to turn out okay.
Yeah.
I do wish that there had been. I mean, this is the thing though. Like, I don't even know if I really wish there were that much of like huge stakes. But you're right. There should be a little bit more stakes.
There were in the first one. They're up on there on the roof. You're like, these are scary.
Yeah,
The
but I
dogs
still
and-
feel like it's a comedy movie, so they're gonna come out okay.
Yeah,
like
but
all
you-
the stuff's gonna get defeated.
You feel the stakes. Like there's all these. I think that's what we're missing. There's all these people in New York City being like, "Holy shit, we're all gonna fucking die!" Like you can't discount that.
That's true.
I will acknowledge the first Ghostbusters is scary. I think it is a scary, pretty
It is
scary movie.
scarier, yes. This movie not as scary by any means.
They tried to make it work in this movie. They had all the characters be like, "It's the ground is still shaking. That's strange."
Having to replicate every single moment from Carrie Coon gets pulled in on her couch with devil arms coming out of it, which is what happens to Sigourney Weaver. Why does Podcast at the end of the movie have to get covered in marshmallow just because it happened in the first one? He's fighting the little marshmallow men and he comes out of the car, and Dan Aykroyd, who was covered in marshmallow in the first one, has to be the one to acknowledge this kid who has the same hair as Dan Aykroyd.
And
it's
he loves his podcast.
it's insulting. It makes me feel like they assume we're all dumb.
Yeah.
That the only way we can ingest this content is if it is just how it was, and it's really insulting. Like they couldn't do anything new.
It's incredibly insulting. And when Egon shows up as a ghost hologram, and it's so melodramatic, and I feel emotional because I love Ghostbusters.
Sure.
I do miss Harold Ramis. He's a great actor, and
Yeah.
he wrote the original Ghostbusters. He's a comedy icon.
Yeah.
And here he is with all it is emotional. And I'm like, they didn't earn it.
No.
I just feel like this is garbage. Ugh.
And they didn't have him talk, which I was saying to Jay and Tyler. I'm like, that's the line they drew. They didn't think it was tasteless to have a modern day version of what he would look like, much skinnier, by the way, than Harold Ramis was when he passed. Just what we would think Egon Spangler would look like in his 60s or 70s. But yeah, they had him do everything but talk. They had him hug people, acknowledge people with looks.
Well, because if they made him talk, I feel like maybe there's a cut where he does talk, and then all the Anthony Bourdain shit from the documentary that they made of him earlier this year. You guys remember this drama?
I know what happened.
What's that?
Oh, Anthony Bourdain. So there's an Anthony Bourdain documentary.
Yeah.
And they took quotes from his books and had AI do his voice reading that. And it's weird, but it's not so weird that it's like, well, this is reprehensible. But a lot of people reacted. They're like, this is reprehensible. How dare you use a computer to make his words happen? And I feel like if they actually had that happen in Ghostbusters, then a lot more people would be really pissed off at this movie.
Yeah, rightfully so. And I think we will get to a point where every actor has it in their will, whether or not they want to be recreated, because it's a very interesting. I'd love to know how the Ramis family feels about seeing that. And
I mean, they probably signed off on it.
they did, but it's just like the I don't know, the feels that you must get from that. Like, well, you're going to give us all this money, but you're going to digitally recreate our grandfather.
I feel like they probably were okay with it, though.
There's so many scenes in this movie that's gross. And like the only thing that's probably more gross is when Gruberson,
Paul Rudd.
Mr.
Paul-
Gruberson, Gary Gruberson.
is he leaves when they're all done from the police station, and he goes to Walmart, and he just goes to Walmart,
An empty Walmart.
gets to get some Baskin Robbins
and some toppings for his sundae that he's going to make at home.
and some Stay Puft marshmallows, and then the dog is there. This movie sucks, Jay.
This movie doesn't suck. This movie's fine.
They would never do that in the original Ghostbusters. There's no scene where Bill Murray goes into a CVS and is like, "Oh, spooky time here."
But there is product placement. There's the Crunch Bar, even though they probably didn't get paid for that Crunch Bar in the original.
I bet they did not get paid.
But in this one, definitely, because they bring it back. And
They probably got
marketing's
paid for
come a
the
long
Crunch
way.
Bar in the original.
Well, in the original, it was like an improvisation, and I know that can happen, and then you still have to pay. I think in the Lady Ghostbusters, Pringles was an ad lib that Kate McKinnon did. You have to pay to put Pringles in your movie, but she just had like a one-off, like
yes, you can't.
ad lib about
You
Pringles.
can't like. I can't just like make like a Hitler Youth movie and be like, "Yeah, and everyone's drinking Coca-Cola. Deal with it, Coca-Cola." Like they could sue me for that.
They have to get
Yeah.
passed
Good
off.
point. I think, yeah, but that's the thing. I'm not gonna try and change you guys' mind on this movie.
You can't.
I can't. But we're also approaching it from different places. You guys are much bigger fans of the original Ghostbusters than I am, and because of that, it sounds like y'all wanted more of that feeling to happen in this Ghostbusters, and more of it to feel like a proper homage to it, instead of what happened, which is we did a family movie with some weird cash grabby undertones.
Yes.
And it doesn't feel as high stakes or tension bubbling up as the original Ghostbusters did.
I think they did a good job with the cast. I think to an extent the effects were good. They're much better than they were in the other 2016 Ghostbusters.
Yes.
Much better. It's 100% just writing. The writing just wasn't there. And there's just so many like gags that were like the Phoebe girl telling bad jokes.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's like an admission that you can't tell a joke, that you have to like, they're literally telling street jokes in a movie.
That's a good point.
Like,
Yes.
why? What are you doing?
Because she's a nerd, and so it's endearing because she's learning these jokes out of a book.
That's like one of like my biggest pet peeves in a character is like they know bad jokes. And so we're going to insert bad jokes into whatever this thing is, a TV show or a movie.
You know who laughed at all of our bad jokes? The 40-year-old behind us who laughed
Absolutely.
at everything.
Some of those bad jokes, by the way, delivered with the best bad way to deliver bad jokes. Good job, Phoebe.
There was 2 back-to-backs early on when they're showing up to the house. They had Carrie Coon do the same kind of joke setup twice, where a kid says something that's relevant to kids, like, "Oh, he reached out to me on Smash App," and Carrie Coon's like, "If you don't stop talking, I'm going to smash app your face into the steering wheel." Like she'll do something like she'll have some kind of, and then I'm like, haha, that's funny. And then it happens again 1 minute later, where a kid says something, she doesn't know what the kid's talking about, so she goes, "I need to get that, new."
But that's Carrie Coon's whole thing in this movie. She's the snarky mom who also is like
Out of
detached
touch.
and hates everything.
Yeah.
All right. Here's something I think is fun. So we all agree that they're trying to franchise this.
Yes.
And they made money, right? So they made a lot of money. So it's going to happen.
It's currently sitting at 147.2 million.
All right.
And it's probably going to keep doing pretty decent money throughout the rest of the holiday season is my guess.
I want to hear, obviously you're coming at it from a different place than us, but what are your fan theories of what's in store for
sequel?
Ghostbusters?
For Ghostbusters Afterlife?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead. I have to think on it for a second.
Oh, I can start going. if you
Start.
want.
Go for it. Go for
so
it.
one of the things I thought was really interesting is the 2 demon dogs, right? If you watch the original Ghostbusters, that's the whole thing, the Keymaster
Gatekeeper.
and the Gatekeeper.
Yeah.
And they want a bone. They want a bone.
Yeah.
That's
They
basically
have to
it.
bone
They
for the
must
prophecy to be
bone
fulfilled.
in order to open the gate.
How great is in the original Ghostbusters, it's Rick Moranis and
Sigourney
Sigourney
Weaver.
Weaver.
Hilarious.
It's
so
great.
funny. So funny.
She picks him up and carries him in her arms
It's
like
hilarious.
a damsel. It's great.
So good. Anyways, this movie, it's Paul Rudd and the mom.
Carrie Coon.
Carrie Coon. And they do bone.
Yeah.
They meet out in the desert and then they bone. They have this weird interaction where they're like, "I like your eyes." And then she's like, he's like, "Yeah,
Very
sounds
Paul
hot."
Feig kind of scene. That scene felt like the 2016
It did.
one.
It's it. But then they bone. So is she pregnant? That's my fan theory. She's pregnant. That's the next
With
movie.
Paul Rudd's kid?
With a demon baby. That's my fan theory.
Was Sigourney Weaver pregnant with a demon baby?
No.
No, because they never boned.
I don't think it's that type of ceremony. It's the ceremony where the lustful act creates the X factor. It's not like trying to put a baby in someone. It's
see.
just the sin creates Gozer for whatever reason.
Sean, what's your fan theory?
Well, they were definitely hinting at making a romance between Podcast and Phoebe, so I think they'll probably explore that. Tyler was saying that they're just going to continue to go along the same path with Ghostbusters 2 and that the painting guy is going to come back.
I would
Vigo the Carpathian.
I don't think they're going to do that. I don't think Ghostbusters 2 was big enough.
If they bring back that actor and he does that accent again, I will fucking go to that movie.
No, I don't think they're going to go through all
I
that.
don't think they're going to do that.
I think they're going to take an entirely new direction, and that's my problem with these. It feels, the bones of this feels just like what they did with the new Star Wars sequels. The first one is a reboot with some of the old cast, and it's just beat for beat, kind of the same thing as Star Wars: A New Hope. And then Last Jedi, all bets are off. It's like, okay, well now we have these new characters, and we got to go in a new direction with them. What are we going to do? And Last Jedi was kind of a mess. we'll see if people stick around. I don't want to come back to see those kids ghostbusting again. I don't want to see Muncher. I think Slimer will show up. That's why they didn't have him in this one.
I don't want to go back to Somerville, Oklahoma.
What they're basically doing now is like it's like I said, right? Like the E.T. version or like the Steven Spielberg. But they're kind of what I think would make sense is if they to nod to Finn Wolfhard, if they Stranger Things it a little bit, and if they age them up. You know, we get Podcast and Phoebe who are out of middle school. They're in high school now. They're like freshmen. We have Finn Wolfhard and Lucky Domingo. He has knocked her up, and they refuse to go to college because of that, and they've fucked their life up completely. And Carrie Coon and Paul Rudd are happily remarried. But it's future, and some worse shit is going to happen than Gozer somehow. They'll find a way, and Slimer's going to be like the king of the underworld.
It's a good lesson in diminishing returns, isn't it? Because all these movie plots have the big end of the world stakes, and then they want to have a sequel. It's like, well, where are you going to go from here?
Well,
X-Men has Apocalypse show up. Apocalypse gets taken care of. Okay, what's the stakes next time?
Well,
That's a good point.
After the credits, there is a scene where Winston
Yes.
Winston buys the firehouse.
I don't know what he's
which
waiting
is
on.
supposed to be a Starbucks. They said it got turned into a Starbucks
Yes.
earlier in the movie.
Continuity, man.
Yeah. So apparently it used to be a Starbucks. Now it's back to a firehouse.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Which would have been a fun scene. That would have been fun if it was like they're tearing down a Starbucks to make it a firehouse or something. Or turning a Starbucks into the Ghostbusters. That'd be great
Or
too.
the other thing they could do is go full like Spider-Man No Way Home multiverse with it, and they open up the portal, and they find the timeline where Lady Ghostbusters is. And they have to deal with that, and they have to go save the ghosts. Because in that world, listen, the world hadn't ended over there, so they got to go over to that side and be
Save
like,
things.
what happened?
I understand why they would not entertain that choice to like open up to the last time they rebooted a bomb movie.
Let's acknowledge our other bombs.
Yeah, I understand why they wouldn't do that.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, like maybe they go back to New York. I would like that. But do
That'd
you
be
think
good.
do you think the original Ghostbusters come back?
Again, well, Winston clearly seems to be.
Winston will.
He's
their
signed up for
benefactor.
more.
Yeah. Bill Murray, maybe. Dan Aykroyd, definitely. Bill Murray's the person who seems the most like he'd be a holdout. I would be impressed if they got. I mean, Sigourney Weaver's probably in too. I would be impressed if they managed to convince Rick Moranis to come out of retirement to do another Ghostbusters run.
You'd think this would have been the one he would have come for, though, where everyone's there.
Nah, Rick Moranis plays a little closer to the chest these days.
Well, he got punched in New York and was like, see, this is why I don't do anything and go anywhere.
Exactly. Well, guys, this has been enlightening to talk at length. We had a nice little chat after the movie, walking around the Grove,
Perplexed.
which is perplexed.
Yeah.
And I didn't. And this is the classic problem that I rarely run into, but I hear other people talk about it, where it's like I liked the movie more than the other people I saw it with, and I couldn't really talk about it then. But I was like, I know we'll talk about it.
Yeah. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Hey, I go into movies, even movies that I know are going to be bad. I hope to enjoy the badness of them.
Yeah.
And this one just felt a little too soulless and a little too just like not needing to exist. Whenever I see a redo, I'm like, does this need to exist? Probably not.
Probably not.
So that's my.
I just don't like being emotionally manipulated. I mean, I watched all the Rocky movies. I watched all of them, and I have a moment where I'm like, I get what they're doing. They're
Pixar.
like you watch Rocky 4, and it's like, yeah, this isn't Rocky, but like it's a different thing.
Sure.
And it's fun. You just kind of go on for the ride. This
Yeah.
is not that.
I disagree, but hey, we're gonna have to agree to disagree
Yeah.
here, guys. Of course, now that we're all together, we can all talk about where we can be found on VR Your Friends,
Yeah.
where we are
YouTube.com/VR Your Friends.
release videos weekly-ish, somewhere in there, roughly. Is that where we're at right now?
Sure.
Yeah.
And on TikTok too, eh?
And at VR Your Friends on TikTok. Yeah. See clips from those wonderful videos. Sean, our masterful person, our captain, my captain of the VR Your Friends crew, does a great job with the editing and shooting, and you should really go check him out if you haven't yet.
Thank you so much, Jay Light. Thank you for having us on your podcast
very
again.
fun.
This is a wonderful time for all of us together. You can find me at Diet J on Twitter and Instagram, jlightcomedy.com for show dates. If you like the Patreon, or if you like the show, subscribe to the Patreon. And that's it. Happy ghosts.
Happy holidays.
I ain't afraid of no ghosts. This
Beat it.
has been Blockbusting. Go see something good for a change.
I love you.
Beat it.